If you've done a real estate exam, you might think the exams are rigged. And you might be right. The exams get harder every year, more expensive, and take hours to study all of the content that you'll need. I'm a licensed realtor, and after tutoring over 500 students, I can tell you there's not an easy answer, but I'm going to try and break it down for you in 4 simple parts. We're going to look at the overview. So essentially, what does the courses entail? What are the exams like? What are the MCQs like? Second, we're going to look at how the exams actually marked. So the scoring, what does that actually entail? What kind of method are they using? Is it 1 point per each question? Third, we're going to look at difficulty, meaning what are the pass and fail rates and what is the perceived difficulty from students? And fourth, we're going to look at solutions. So ultimately, if it is rigged, what can we actually do to get around this or to better your chances of passing the exam? So in the Humber, Ontario Real Estate Program, there are 6 courses and 5 exams. That means that nearly every single course has an exam except course 5. And they're all about 2 to 3 hours long with tons of MCQs. And yes, they are all MCQs, so they're all multiple choice questions. So specifically in terms of timings and the amount of questions, course 1, you're going to have 2 hours to complete about 75 MCQ questions, multiple choice questions. Course 2, 3, and 4, you're going to have about 3 hours to complete 115 questions. And then for the simulations, a little bit different structure, but on your exam day, you're going to have about 3 hours to complete about 50 questions, give or take. Now, the exams each cost about $115 after the recent price increase, and this is individually and it's separate from the amount that you pay to buy the course itself. Of course, other than the simulations where your exam price is automatically included in the hefty hundreds of dollars that you pay for those simulations. Now, keep in mind, amongst the price increase, there has also been the rule change that if you fail a course more than 2 times, you will have to buy the course again if you want to attempt it a 3rd time. And this basically means that a lot more people are forking up a lot more money than they used to for these real estate courses. Hence, the rigging question. Okay, so scoring. The most common question I get is, are the questions weighted equally? And the simple answer to that, according to Humber, is yes. The questions are weighted equally because they use the Angoff standard testing method. How do I know this? Well, if you look at your exam report and you go right to the bottom, you're going to see it says that they use the standard Angoff method for testing. What this means is that basically every single question is graded as 1 point if you get it correct. Every question that you get incorrect is graded as 0 points, meaning they don't deduct anything, but it is 0 points. Basically meaning it is a simple, normal, standard test procedure. However, the point of this Angoff method is really just to set the 75% passing rate. So it's really just to justify how did they come up with 75% as a passing grade for these real estate exams. And essentially the Angoff method is simply where they took a group of experts and they decided, okay, what is the percentage that a minimally competent person, someone with not too much knowledge in real estate, not amazing, but they kind of know their stuff, what percentage would that minimally competent person get if they were to take this exam? And so they all gave them random different exams, all the questions were weighted equally, and those real estate experts, whoever they were, determined that on average it would be about 75%. And so boom, they took the average of all these different real estate experts' percentages and they came up with a 75% passing rate. Now what that means for you is it doesn't really matter, but as according to Humber, yes, the questions are all weighted the same. With that being said, there is no real way to tell. As I've heard from many students, I've tutored many students before, the perceived difficulty does not suggest the same thing. Hence, on to the next point. So the difficulty. So first of all, Humber does not post the failing and the passing grades, unfortunately. However, based on my experience of tutoring over 500-600 people by now, and of doing simulation sessions myself, talking with different instructors who instructed on behalf of Humber, I can relay you a decent amount of information relating to the courses which can allude to potentially what kind of passing rates we're going to be seeing and what's the difficulty really like. So based on my experience, the simulation sessions are the easiest. And this was from feedback that I got from instructors during simulation sessions who actually would say that the percentage of failing is really low, something under 5 or 4% for both the simulation sessions. So those are about the easiest courses to pass, the easiest exams, and most people do pretty relatively well. And that is also in alignment with my own experience of tutoring many students for the real estate courses. Now, if I were to then list the rest of the courses in terms of difficulty, from the easiest all the way to the hardest, it's actually pretty much in order. I would say course 1 is the next easiest after that, and it goes all the way down course 2, course 3, and course 4. Now, a lot of people find course 2 difficult simply because it's long. They find course 3 difficult because although it's short, there's a lot of details to remember. And they find course 4 difficult because, well, course 4 is a combination. It's long, it's 15 modules, it's detailed, but it's also based on application. And of course, it's commercial real estate, meaning it makes it a lot harder for people because they're not familiar with commercial real estate, but also they're not used to not having to memorize something for the exam. Hence, meaning you also got to know your material a little bit better. With that being said, of course, there's a lot of people that fail course 2, 3, and 4 all. But I would say that in my experience, most people tend to fail course 3 and course 4 the most, and perhaps even course 3 more. The only reason I put course 4 as being more difficult is because my experience is that course 4 is a more difficult course. It just happens to be that less people fail because by the time that they get to course 4, they already have had enough experience with the Humber Real Estate exams to kind of know the process, to kind of know how they study, and they've kind of figured out a groove by then. With that being said, I think the worst course for most people, I think many people would agree, is course 2. It's kind of the first shock that you get in the real estate exams. It's such a long course. It's the longest out of them all. It's triple the length of course 1. And so that can also cause a lot of issues. So this brings me to the last point. Are the exams rigged? Technically, no, they are not rigged. However, I wouldn't say they test you solely on your knowledge. And I would say it does look like they're trying to stifle the people that come into the industry. That's simply because it seems the exams, they seem to get harder and harder every single year. The content is so long and repetitive and filled with numerous redundancies and irrelevancies compared to real life. And they simply just keep increasing prices and making it seem like it's really just a money grab. So what do you do? I mean, these courses are going to cost thousands of dollars and they're typically making it harder and harder. So it's already super discouraging for someone new who wants to get into the real estate industry. However, what you can do to increase your chances is 2 things. Get really good at studying, and the second is get really good at doing MCQs. Now, when I say studying, I'm not just talking about being able to read a book and remember all the information in the book. I'm talking about being able to do a study session 1 to 2 hours a day consistently for many, many months, because that's what it's going to take to be able to pass the courses. Remember, the longer you take, the more hours you're going to have to put in, because the more you're going to forget about the content. And each course leads into the next course. So the more you remember from the first course, the better you're going to do on the second, and so forth. So get really good at studying. And if you want to see a video on that, you can check out this video right here or over there. But check it out. It's basically going to list what I did to pass course 1 in 5 days, pass course 2, 3, and 4, all with pretty high marks as well. Now, second, I have still also met people that could teach the course better than me and knew everything to the T, but they still failed the exam. Why? Well, this is simply because you gotta also be able to master the art of multiple choice questions. These questions are not made to help you pass. Humber has made it more difficult on purpose. So you really gotta get good at answering these questions and be able to go through all of these different techniques so that it makes it easier for you and you have a system every time that you get to the exam. So if you want to see a video where I go through the art of the MCQs, tricky questions, not questions, and I go in depth, then watch this video right here as well. That's going to give you all of those tips, and hopefully that will help you on your next exam. And lastly, I would also say that if you're preparing for an exam or you're trying to do better on an exam, then you also should have an exam strategy. This matters a lot because you can be good at MCQs and you can have studied really well, but if you get to the exam and you're panicking and you don't have a system and you're just doing question after question after question in the order they give it to you, that might not be the best way and your score is not being maximized. So there are a lot of small things that you can do to increase your score. If you want to figure out what those are, you can watch that video right there. All right, thank you for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video.